Ever since I was a kid, I've had this indescribable pleasure from seeing one form of media I enjoy adapted into another form of media I enjoy, especially when it's been brought to life into a live action movie. It's always exciting to see, whether it be a cartoon into a film, or a film into a video game, or a book into a film, or a comic book into a film, a manga into a video game, or hopefully one day in the future, an actual good anime manga into a live action film. I've always loved seeing this, and over the years as technology improves, we're seeing more and more great stories that could only be previously imagined by the mind come to life before our very eyes with pristine creativity and accuracy. Accuracy being the key word here. There have been many comic book and literature adaptations in Hollywood over the years, and Marvel Studios have proved one thing in the rise of comic book movies, that the more accurate you are to the source material, the more successful you can be. Now, I understand you can't be exactly like the comic books, or it would look silly, but Marvel have proven that you can get pretty damn close and you can be successful. Marvel have been accurate, and their box office success has proven that fans enjoy seeing accurate depictions of their favourite characters. So next time you hear some white guy or even a black guy say he doesn't like a race change of his favourite character, don't be so quick to assume that he's a dirty, flaming racist. They're more than likely just upset that the character they've been waiting for years to be adapted into a live action movie isn't as accurate in the most simplest way that it could be, and that is race. So in 2015, it seems every so-called liberal progressive leftist wants established white characters from literature's past race changed to reflect an ethnic minority, usually the opposite spectrum, black. It's happened in the past already. We've had the late Michael Clark Duncan play the white character in the comics, the Kingpin. In Mark Steven Johnson's Daredevil, we've had Halle Berry play Catwoman, though it wasn't Selena Kyle, but an original character that goes by the name of Patrice Phillips. Probably one of the many reasons why the film sucked. But other than that, it's always been a case of casting the actor that's perfect for the role, be it Superman, Batman, Spiderman, Abraham Lincoln, John F. Kennedy, Chris Gardner, Malcolm X, whoever. They cast a character who acts, feels, and looks closest to their comic or literature counterpart.
Yo, Trank.
What up?
I got something to say.
Now, I understand that adapting fictional books and comics is a little different from adapting real-life stories, such as Chris Gardner's real-life struggle to survive and succeed in pursuit of happiness, or Malcolm X's militant and aggressive fight for equality and civil rights in Malcolm X. People argue fictional stories allow creators free rein on character design, the plot and other things, unless of course those things end up conflicting with the main point of the story. For example, you couldn't change Black Panther's race from black to white, because Black Panther is set in Africa and it is about African characters.
Wakanda is a small country in Africa, notable for never having been conquered in its entire history.
Who's in charge?
He's called the Black Panther.
And even his name alone was inspired by the Black Panther Civil Rights Organization in the 60s. Its focus is on race. But other than that, it's open season on what they can change when adapting a story. And I can agree with that, but only if it makes the movie better, only if it improves upon the source material, not makes it worse. Recently, there's been a lot of talk of diversity in Hollywood, mainly in the superhero movie scene, the most money-making movies in film today. There's been talk of gender diversity as well as race diversity, that we need more of it. And I wholeheartedly agree that we need more diversity. I mean, look at the Avengers, there's hella white up in there. They definitely need some colour on the team. They need some blacks up in there, and not just in superhero films, but in every genre of film. And we're getting it. Slowly but surely, we are getting it. But here's the problem, here's where it splits. And true diversity becomes a money-making scheme and a social justice agenda. The studios don't see black, white, Indian, gay, straight, female, male. All they see is green. They just want the money. And the only reason we're getting diversity is because there is demand for it. It's all about image. It's all about who the most progressive liberal film company is in 2015. It's a game of who's got the most black characters in their movie. If you want to use Marvel's Civil War comic book as an analogy, ethnic minorities, LGBT and women are just Spider-Man being pulled left and right by the movie studios. It's all a pissing contest of who's got the most diverse cast. You see it in the comic book world as well. Making the Falcon Captain America, making a woman Thor, not a female version of Thor, but actually Thor, to the point the original male Thor's name is not even Thor anymore, it's just Odin's son.
I have grown, Odin's son.
You see it in the upcoming all-female Ghostbusters movie, the all-female Avengers comic, Jimmy Olsen being a big black dude in the Supergirl TV show that looks more like Thierry Henry's twin brother rather than a nerdy ginger kid like he is in the comics. And Sony playing with the idea of an all-female Spider-Woman's team-up movie. These right here, in my opinion, are not real attempts at being diverse. It's just a cheap way for these companies to cash in on society's demand for more diversity in media, in expense of brilliant stories and characters that make sense, in expense of true diversity. The first sign of this fake diversity was Johnny Storm being played by Michael B. Jordan in the new Fantastic Four movie. People argue that you can change a character's race as long as it doesn't affect the story, plot, and the character's relationships. Fine, I can agree with that. But in the comics, Sue Storm and Johnny Storm are siblings. This is a very important factor for the story of the Fantastic Four. Yet they changed Johnny Storm from white to black in order to be diverse, but kept Sue Storm as a white blonde girl? What? I have no problem with Michael B. Jordan playing Johnny Storm. I think he could pull off his characteristics from the comics perfectly. I think he could play almost any cool young hero regardless of race. But this isn't being diverse. This is just affirmative action. This is being a token black guy. If this was an attempt at true diversity, they would have made Sue Storm black as well. This would be like making Peter Parker black, but keeping Aunt May and Uncle Ben white. It's almost insulting. And now they have to explain why one sibling is white and the other is black, when they are normally just simply brothers and sisters in the comics, and you're done with it. Now, after the exciting news that Spider-Man's coming over to the Marvel Cinematic Universe to play, it didn't take long for the progressive leftists to clamour for Miles Morales and or even a more controversial black Peter Parker. No thought about what kind of ramifications and difficulty this could cause us for the story, but just diversity. We need diversity. Doesn't have to make sense or doesn't have to work with the plot. Just give us more diversity. Diversity. Despite the fact that nobody in the general audience knows who the hell Miles Morales is, despite the fact that you need Peter Parker in order to have Miles Morales, despite the fact that people have been dying since the MCU's conception, hell, since Tobey Maguire first put on Spider-Man's mask, to see Marvel's #1 guy interact with Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, and other Marvel heroes. And when we're finally gonna get it, you're gonna put Miles motherfucking Morales in there. Fuck you. As a black man, I say fuck you. I wanna see Miles Morales in the MCU, I do. Don't get me wrong, it would be cool since he is slowly becoming a popular character in the comics now. But let's see Peter Parker done right first. Let's see Peter Parker interact with Captain America and Iron Man. Let's see Peter Parker pass the torch to Miles Morales like he did in the comics. Now, the whole thing about making established white characters black, I don't have a problem with it. If you're gonna do it because the actor's just perfect for the role and it just makes sense and would be interesting. Like Michael Clarke Duncan as Kingpin, he was huge, he was domineering, he was badass, just like Kingpin from the comics. He worked, his skin color didn't matter for 2 reasons. Number 1, the Kingpin wasn't an iconic character, and number 2, Duncan was perfect. You can tell he wasn't cast just for the sake of to be diverse. He was cast simply because he was perfect.
Perfect!
Nick Fury in the MCU, in the comics he was white, but in the Ultimate Comics he was black, and he was actually modelled after Samuel Jackson himself. So it only made sense that they made the Ultimate version of Nick Fury be the Nick Fury in the movies, because Sam Jackson is the real person. He is pretty much the real Nick Fury that they made in the Ultimate Comics, and he's amazing as Fury. Perry White being played by Lawrence Fishburne in Man of Steel, this was an attempt at diversity done right. Perry White is a smaller, lesser known character and someone that's not iconic on the level of Batman, Spiderman or Superman. Race changes of side characters is not a big deal. Nothing to cry about if the actor embodies that character, which Fishburne did. All the talk of James Bond being played by Idris Elba is something I agree with, because Idris is perfect for the role. When an actor is perfect, like Michael Clarke Duncan as Kingpin or Idris Elba as James Bond, that's just great casting, not forced diversity. It doesn't affect the plot in any way. A black person as Peter Parker, this is where I draw the line. This is where I have a bit of a problem. Just like I would with a black person as Superman or a black person as Batman. Will Smith was once asked to play Superman and he refused, stating, "Superman is white, why would you ask me?" And rightfully so. The reason I have a problem with a black man or any other minority playing these kinds of characters is because they are iconic, they are legends, they are so ingrained in pop culture and society as white men that they might as well have existed as real people in real life history. Just like you wouldn't cast someone who is fat, bald, who has a goatee or blonde hair as Superman, you shouldn't cast a black person as Superman. You wouldn't cast a blonde kid as Peter Parker because it's just not accurate. If you're not going to be accurate with the character designs, you might as well call it something different. Don't call it Superman or Spiderman or Batman. People like to argue against the fact that the Miles Morales character simply wouldn't work in the MCU right now or in a possible future Civil War movie because the general audience don't know who he is. They like to argue that in the Guardians of the Galaxy movie, when they made that, no one knew who they were, and now they are extremely popular, and now everyone knows who they are. Everyone's getting the toys, everyone's watching the cartoons. They've essentially become iconic. Before, no one knew, not even a whole bunch of comic fans barely knew who the Guardians of the Galaxy were. Now everyone is shouting, "I am Groot." Now everyone is trying to get Rocket Raccoon toys. Now everyone is shouting out Peter Quill one-liners. You know, now the Guardians of the Galaxy are almost ingrained in popular culture, and they're saying that Miles Morales could be done like that as well, right? Wrong. What people don't understand is the Guardians of the Galaxy didn't have any pre-existing history within cinema. They weren't already ingrained into the audience's mind. They were their own thing. They were new, they were fresh, they were out of the blue, and it was a massive risk, and it was a risk that paid off. Miles Morales is a massive risk that also has to beat his pre-existing counterpart, and he's the most iconic superhero of all time. He's taken over the mantle without being past the mantle. And people really think that's gonna work? Spiderman has been existing in the movie-going audience's minds since 2002, and the Raimi series is very much beloved. It's partly why the reboot with Andrew Garfield didn't work. Most of the general audience ignored the reboot because they still wanted the Maguire and Raimi series to continue. And now you think people are ready to accept someone who's not even Peter Parker?
Huh? My name is Miles Morales, and I'm Spider-Man.
No way. As a black man, I find it insulting to appropriate my race into an already existing, ingrained in popular culture character. It would be like my race is riding the coattails of a white character's previous success. If you really want to see diversity in films, if you want true diversity, give actual black characters from comics and literature a chance to shine. Don't just grab an already existing popular white character and then make him black. The black version will always be second best, will always be the fake version, will always be the politically correct version. He will never really be Clark Kent or Peter Parker. He will never really be Bruce Wayne. He'll never really be Steve Rogers. He will always be the black version, and that's sad. To get true diversity, let us see Luke Cage on screen. Let's see Black Panther on screen. Let's see War Machine get his own movie. Let's see The Prowler get his own movie. Let's see Blade return to the silver screen. Let's see Static Shock. Let's see Cyborg. Let's see John Stewart's Green Lantern. Let's see some original black heroes being created. I don't mind smaller characters' races being changed and building them up into icons for the movies or even just the comics. But please, 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 don't turn iconic heroes black. Let's make black heroes iconic. That's real diversity. And that's 0088, speaking on this whole race thing and race bending. Put what you think in the comments, what your thoughts are on my thoughts, and I'll see you again.